Yo, what's good, my wolf pack? Alpha the pack right here. And today in this video, man, I'm gonna be doing a review of Eden Zero, chapter 128. What's important, dog? I really enjoyed this chapter. This was a nice. It was a nice chapter filled with both action and emotion. Dog, I loved this chapter. You can very much see we're on the end. We're dear God, I can't talk. We're in the end game. We're reaching the conclusion of the force arc. Okay, so the chapter starts off with Hamura, Rebecca, Shiki, Happy, and Pino, and the little girl, riding through Forza, and they're trying to avoid the lasers, the lasers, the beams of I don't know what it is, energy, lava, lasers that are shooting up from the ground. They're trying to avoid getting incinerated, right? And at the same time, there's giant machine gun robots chasing them, so they're taking them out at the same time. And I just have to say, I love Rebecca. Rebecca and Hamura tag teaming, working together to take out the robots. Dog, I love that scene. Rebecca and Hamura, they don't get that many fight scenes together, but when they do, the scenes are hot. Dog, Rebecca, she was whipping that motorcycle. It was clean. I cannot wait for the anime to get to that part. I can't wait for the anime to get to the Force arc, specifically that part where Rebecca and Hamura on the motorcycle. Cause my girl, she was whipping. I mean, she was speeding, kicking robots in the face. You got Hamura with the blade, cutting robots in half. My man Shiki flipping through the air with his gravity, just kneeing robots in half. Dog, the overall action scene, as short as it was hot. Dog, I really can't wait for the anime. I really can't wait for the anime to get to that arc. I can't wait for the anime in general, dog. I know sometimes when manga gets animated, certain things are changed. I really hope no unnecessary changes are made to the manga. I really hope that's not the case, because this just has to be as minor as it is. It has to be one of my favorite moments in the arc, because the overall scene just looks so cool. And if it's not an anime, people may not think it's a big deal, but I take joy in such the tiniest thing, and the littlest thing I take joy in. And if it's taken away, I'm gonna be disappointed. I can't help it. The littlest things get me excited. But look, I just want the anime to do the manga justice. That's all I'm saying. Okay, no unnecessary changes, for the love of God, please. But after that little action scene, we cut to the beacon. The little uh, machine satellite thing of sorts on Forrester, right? And Hermit is trying to bring down the firewall that set up the Doomsday system. She's trying to hack into the system to stop the Doomsday device, but Dr. Mueller has some sort of intense programming set up, so Herman was having a hard time taking it down. And so she said she was beginning to overheat, and that's when Laguna stepped up and proceeded to cool her off with his water ether. We saw a shot that Wise was getting a little bit. It looked like he was getting a little bit jealous at the fact that Laguna was so close to Hermit, and to which case, where Laguna started cooling Herman down, he immediately spoke up and said, "So what about me? What do I do? Do you need me to remodel the system? Do I need to remodel the program?" And Herman was all like, "No, this program requires a lot of hacking, which is something that you can't do." And Wise gets upset at this because he basically views himself being there now as meaningless, as useless. So he's all like, "Okay, so why the hell am I here then?" And Herman's like, "Well, I told you earlier, you're here to destroy me in case I go berserk. That's why you're here." And Wise wasn't exactly satisfied with that answer. He's all like, "What does that say about me?" And Herman was all like, "Well, it says I trust you." And again, Wise just like he's blushing, not really having anything else to say. And I'm sorry. I 100% feel like that Hermit and Wise's relationship is leading towards something much more than friendship. I'm sorry. Some people want them to stay like brother and sister. They want them to stay in this brother and sister type relationship. But dog, I'm telling you, that is not the vibes I am picking up. Okay, Hermit, Hermit is definitely feeling Wise. She has to be the way. There's no way. I'm telling you, they're gonna end up together. I'm picking up what Hiromashi was putting down. He's definitely building them up to be a couple. He has to. There's no way they're just gonna be friends. I mean, if that happens, it's cool. But I swear there's something more to that relationship, dog. I swear there has to be. Unless I'm just reading too much into it. But look, dog. Either way, I'm sticking with my head canon. So anyway, while Herman's still trying to hack into Dr. Mueller's little uh, encryption of the Doomsday System, Dr. Mueller then makes an appearance. And in the last chapter review, I said that Wise actually killed him when he hit him with that mortal crash, with that big explosion attack. But that was not the case because this bastard is still alive. He has these tiny little robot arms coming up from out the side of his head, and he's walking towards them. And he calls out to Hermit. The crew, Hermit, Lagoon, and Wise are shocked to see him, and Dr. Mueller, as he's approaching them, he starts to beg them to spare him, or more specifically, he starts to beg Hermit to spare him. Wise, upon seeing Dr. Mueller, took a step towards him. He wanted to just end him right then and there, but Hermit stopped him. Hermit then began to question Dr. Mueller. She says, "How many people begged you to spare them? You've hurt so many people, like Jen and Colleen." And Dr. Mueller was all like, "But I didn't kill them, no. I didn't kill them. They're still alive. You know that. You saw them." And now this shocked Laguna when he found out that Dr. Mueller was the one behind Jen's and Colleen's suffering. You know, Laguna was all like, "Wait, he's the one that did it?" Because Dr. Mueller, he may not seem like such a... Dr. Mueller, I can definitely see why he was shot, because this man does not look like a threat at all. But I guess that's how he gets you, because he looks like you. If you saw Dr. Mueller, you would thought that he was weak. Like, you wouldn't think this man was a threat at all. He was pathetic. But so this bastard can actually do some pretty sinister stuff. And so there's a moment where we cut to Sister, who's still inside of Colleen's memories, and poor Colleen is just shaking. She's terrified at the sight that she saw with Dr. Mueller cutting off Jen's arms and her legs. She's shaking. She has tears coming out of her eyes. She was like, my brother, his arms and legs. Someone help!" And there's a moment where Sister Ivory, she just averts her eyes, like the seems too much for her to watch, and then she walks up to little Clean and hugs her and says, "Everything's gonna." And she hugs little Clean and says, "Everything's gonna be okay now. I'm gonna take away these painful memories. It's time to go home. Your brother's waiting for you." And as she's hugging Colleen, we see the memory, we see little Clean start to vanish, and back on the Eden Zero, there's a moment where we see Colleen, who's unconscious with this breathing machine on, and we see that tears begin to fall out of her eyes, right? And who Sister and Witch is just watching this take place, and she looks a little bit surprised at this, and I can only assume that she has figured out that Sister Ivory is or was successful in taking away Colleen's pain. So we then cut back to the beacon with Hermit, Laguna, Wise, and Dr. Mueller. Okay. Dr. Mueller is still begging for his life to be spared. What I like about this is, it has nothing to do with Dr. Mueller. What I like about this is, I like how Herman lured Dr. Mueller into a false sense of security because he was going on about how he learned from his past mistakes, how he's changed, how he realized that he shouldn't have harmed machines the way he did, how he's sorry for everything that he's done to Hermit, and how he realized that machines aren't trash, that humans are the ones that are trash, and that's why he decided to listen to Ziggy because humans were trash and he wanted to take them out. And Hermit was all like, "You haven't learned anything. With us on the Eden Zero, it's not about being human or machine. It's not about being being better or who's better. We treat each other as equals. We're like a family." And Dr. Miller was like, "Yes, yes, I understand. And you're so correct, my darling piece of junk. I mean, my darling assistant." And I love how Hermit completely played Dr. Mueller by luring him into a false sense of security because when she picked him up off the ground, she picked his head up off the ground and she was acting like it looked like she was going to say, "I forgive you," or something along those lines. And even Wise stepped in. He was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And Wise just and Herman just lifted Dr. Mueller up, and she looked at him. She said, "Dr. Mueller," and Dr. Mueller, he was just trying to look as innocent as possible. He was all like, "Hmm," and she just used her skills, her hacking ability to get a retina scan from Dr. Mueller, and that was the final obstacle that was in their way of stopping the Doomsday System. So she lured Dr. Mueller into a false sense of security and tricked him into getting a retina scan. And she said, "Okay, I got what I need now. I can stop the Doomsday System." And Dr. Mueller, he was still trying to act all sweet and innocent, like, "Oh, yes, yes, I'm very glad I was able to help you." It's then that Hermit says, "Okay, I don't need you anymore. And I never want you to cross paths with me ever again." And she proceeded to toss Mueller up in the air and punch him in the face in what was a beautiful shot, mind you. She punched him in the face and sent him flying across. She sent him flying out of the beacon across somewhere far into the distance of Forrester. All right. And she said if there was one thing she could thank Dr. Mueller for, though, it's for it's for teaching her how precious friends were. If it wasn't for him, she wouldn't have learned how precious her friends were, and she was thankful for the fact that she had friends. Okay, and it's then where Herman begins to delete the virus from all the robots and shuts down the Doomsday System. And as we're back on the grounds of Forza, we see all the robots shutting down. The laser stopped, and as Rebecca Hermit, as Rebecca Hamura, Shiki, Happy, and Pino stop and begins to catch their breath, they're looking around and they're wondering, is everything is back to normal? Is everything's okay? Shiki's like, "Oh, have the robots finally gone back to normal?" And then Rebecca says, "Yes, but even so, so many people, so many machines' lives were lost. I can only hope that Forrester's bots and humans can one day become friends again." And that was the end of the chapter. And commenting on what Rebecca said, I honestly don't know if it was possible. I honestly don't think it's possible. I mean, the robots all but annihilated the human population that was on Forrester. They enslaved them, basically, treated them like pets. And even with that, a lot of the machines' lives were taken at the hands of humans. I don't see that pain going away so soon, so easily, if at all. It might be a long time, or it might not it might not happen in general. I don't know. You can hope, you can be positive and think that it can happen, but experience such a pain and devastation and death like that, it can definitely change things. So it's a possibility, but I don't know. I personally, I don't see how a coexistence can happen again between machines and humans after everything that went down. There's definitely going to be a large amount of a paranoia that's going to take place between the two. So for Forrest, though, I don't know if that's possible. Humans and machines coexisting again like they once did, you know. But yeah, man. So it's a pretty good chapter. I enjoyed it a lot. Um, Chapter 129 just came out. I put off doing this review for a week. So, Eden Zero chapter 129 just came out, and I'm gonna jump straight up into that. But y'all, let me know, how did y'all feel about Eden Zero chapter 128? Was it good? I really enjoyed it. How y'all felt about the chapter? I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it so much. But yeah, man, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see y'all in a second because I'm going to be jumping right into chapter 129. All right, give me a sec. All right, y'all. So, Eden Zero, chapter 129. So we can smile brighter. Dog, this chapter, it pulled at my heart, man. It pulled at my heart, dog. I almost cried, dog. I can't even hold y'all, dog. I'm getting emotional right now, dog. I almost cried, dog. So, before I forget, earlier in the video, I forgot to mention that there was a cover page of Hermit looking thicker than a bowl of oatmeal, one may say. But for this chapter, we got a beautiful cover shot of Jen and Colleen, right? So, the most beautiful thing in this chapter, the most important thing in this chapter to me, was the reconnection of Jen and Colleen. All right, or rather, it's not like they were ever like apart. It's not like they weren't cool with anything or anything like that. They weren't cool with anything or they weren't cool with each other or anything like that. But Jen, in a sense, finally got his real sister back, and that reconnection, it was so beautiful to me, dog. Cause Jen, he broke down crying at the sight of his sister. Cause I can only imagine. At first, he had no idea where she was. He had to spend, I assume, years searching for her, and he finally found her, only to see that her emotions were suppressed. She wasn't her normal self. She couldn't really feel, right? And then she almost dies. And then after something that isn't really short of a miracle, she's healed and she returns back to her normal self. Dog, if I almost lost my sister and I see her again, in a hospital, all well and good, I can't say I wouldn't cry myself, dog. And so just seeing Jen break down at the sight of his sister, saying that it was good to have her back. That bro, as a brother, that got me, dog. As a brother, that got me. And then also to top it off, Jen was all like, not Jen. To top it all off, Clean was all like, I've come back home, man. She said it with the most adorable, most beautiful smile, dog. And right before that, she thanked Jen for finding sister, for bringing sister to her and healing her, for keeping his word, right? She was like, I was in a darkness, I was in so much pain, but you brought sister to me and you had her heal me. Thank you, dog. Oh man, it just my heart, dog, my heart. And so that's how the chapter ended. It wasn't much of a chapter. Okay, well, it wasn't not besides what happened with Jenny Colleen. Not much happened. Um, Laguna was acting a big sus, talking about how he was just going to continue to play his role, the role of a man that doesn't has a role or a future because Wise asked him Wise asked him when he was going to get off the ship, because Laguna was being somewhat of a prick by asking why they didn't team up with Elsie to take down Drake and if they knew her. And Wise was all like, it had nothing to do with Elsie or us knowing her. Us dealing with Draken was for us. He was our problem to deal with. It was our fight. And he was like, yeah, whatever. And then he left. And Wise was all like, okay, so when are you going to get off the ship? And Laguna was all like, oh, when I feel like it or something like that. So Laguna, clearly there's something going on with Laguna. He has some sort of goal. He was acting. We're, we're clearly gonna get something more with Laguna, because I feel like I swear to God, I never understood. Yeah, he helped the crew out somewhat, but I felt like he just felt so out of place there to me. At least Jen and Colleen made somewhat sense. So it just never really felt like Laguna belonged on the ship. So whatever is going on with him, I'm looking forward to finding that out. But like I was saying, man, not much really happened in this chapter. It was a calming down. It was a calming down, brief, debriefing chapter moment. Okay, it was pretty chill. It was a calm chapter. The beginning of the chapter started off with Elsie just checking up on the crew, seeing how everyone was doing. Um, he talked about how Justice and the Erishion, not Erishion, the the Galactic Interstellar was apparently on par with the Erishion Says Galactica, and how how it was true that Ziggy was actually in the Aoi Cosmos, and they were going to continue their pursuit after him, and that was basically all that came um, from that interaction, from that interaction. Um, Couch Poe in Moscow was just chilling, eating all the food. Originally, Couch Poe was angry at Moscow because she helped Allegia and Jen kidnap them, but then she quickly got over it and they continued to eat. Uh, Not really anything important. And then there was a moment where the little girl that Shiki, Hamura, Rebecca, Happy, and Pino had, she was sitting alone by herself at a table. Witch had to give her some food, but she wasn't eating, right? And Witch sat down and talked to her, and she asked her how she was feeling, and the little girl, we found out her name was Aruna, all right, and she says that Rebecca and Shiki and the crew told her that her robot friend Mimi died, and she says that she didn't have a family. She didn't have a mom or a dad, and that Mimi was all that she had. And she was basically just really heartbroken over the fact that her only family, in a sense, being Mimi, was gone. And Witch took the time to explain that they've also lost a friend in Valkyrie, and that she was a machine as well, and that it's okay to cry, it's okay to be sad in the moment, but our friends in heaven would want us to be happy. So you can cry all you want to now, as long as you smile as much as you can in the future. And there was this real sweet moment where Witch just wrapped Aruna. She wrapped the little girl up in her arms and gave her a hug. And I like that scene. Witch is so sweet, dog. I love Witch so much. She's such a caring person. I swear, it's so weird saying this. I said this before. I said Witch gives me strong Urza vibes, but we have an Urza-like character in the series. It's so weird saying that, but it's like Elsie isn't really like Urza, but it's so weird. Oh God. So we saw that Shiki brought Xenolit on the ship. Herman was kind of getting on Shiki about bringing the Xenolith on board, you know, because she was shocked when she found out that the robot Shiki had was Xenolit, but she was also someone that said that Shiki brought him on board and that Xenolit wasn't even moving. But we found out that Xenolit uploaded his consciousness, his memory to the cloud, which I called that he did, and he basically said that he had a request or a question for the apprentice of Ziggy, which is Shiki, and but we don't really get what that request is. He was like, "Only you can do this, apprentice of Ziggy," and that was when we cut to the scene with Jin and Colleen, right? And we also got somewhat of a we got some more rather I was gonna say somewhat of a bit of character development for Rise, but in actuality we got more character development for Wise because we see as Jen was out waiting for the news regarding Colleen before his sister came out of the medical room. How Jen was sitting out alone, Wise walked up to him and told him how Hermit, and Laguna encountered Dr. Mueller and how they learned of what happened in his past. And Jen was upset about this and he demanded to know what Dr. Mueller was, and he said he was going to kill him. But Wise said that it's fine. He doesn't need to worry about Dr. Mueller anymore because they blew him to bits. They got rid of him. Which, is that really true? Because all Herman really did was punch him away. I mean, I don't think Dr. Mueller is dead. I want the bastard to be dead. I don't like Dr. Mueller at all. I don't think anyone likes Dr. Mueller, but a part of me feels like he's gonna come back. A part of me really feels like he's gonna come back, which I wish Hero would. I wish we got a satisfying death for this bastard because he's just a sick, sadistic bastard. But I want to hope that he's gone for good. But I just think he's gonna come back somehow, some way, and he's just gonna cause more suffering and pain for other people, you know. But as I was saying, you know, Wise told Jen that they killed Mueller, and Wise also apologized to Jen for being so standoffish, for being so hard on him, and that he understands that Jen and Colleen went through hard, difficult times themselves. Alright, and that was basically it was then that we got the scene with Jen and Colleen, yeah, I basically went through everything that went. I basically went through everything that happened in this chapter. It was a pretty decent chapter, an emotional chapter, dog. It had me in my feelings, specifically that scene with Jen and Colleen, dog. With this, I'm looking forward to seeing how interactions go with the crew. I'm looking forward to seeing how Jen and Colleen shift with the crew because while Colleen was never exactly against being on Eden Zero, Jen was, and now that Colleen is okay, I'm really interested in seeing how Jen acts with everyone on board. I'm curious to see if he's going to open up more, if he's going to start interacting with everybody, if he's going to be a lot more chill now. We've only seen the quiet, rude, tough guy Jen. So I'm looking forward. I'm really looking forward to seeing more emotion from Jen, to seeing how he acts normally, right? So I can't wait to see how things go with that. You know. Also, allow me to comment on. A lot of people were upset that Sister Ivory basically just straight up deleted Colleen's memories. They, but I don't really understand why, if that trauma put Colleen in a life or death state, and she was gonna die. She was basically gonna die if nothing was done. Why why is sister deleting her memories an issue? That just doesn't make any sense to me. And some people say that they wanted Colleen to heal on her own, to get through the traumatic situation on her own, but it's like that literally was not possible. The whole event was caused her so much distress, so much heartache that it could literally kill her. So Colleen moving past that trauma by herself was not possible. I mean, that was established since early on in the series. Like, I don't know. I don't really understand. It's possible that those memories of Dr. Mueller might pop back up again if Dr. Mueller actually pops back up again, which I won't be too surprised if I'm being honest. If that bastard pops up again and she sees him, her memories might come back and she might be forced to deal with them. But overall, I was perfectly fine with Sister deleting Clean's memories. I took no problem with that at all. I see no issue with it. The only other alternative was Clean dying. So I don't know. But anyway, man, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see y'all in my next video. Very much looking forward to seeing how the story progresses from here. And with this chapter, the Forced arc has finally come to the Forced arc has finally come to a close. It's been one heck of a ride, y'all. I'll see y'all in my next video. Peace out, my wolf pack. Your alpha has spoken.